My name is Tara Warwick, and I am an occupational therapist and co-owner of Today's Consulting Solutions. In honor of April being Autism Awareness Month, I'm going to do an intro to autism training. And so the purpose of this training is just to help everybody have a good understanding about what the diagnosis of autism is. So the first thing to think of with autism is to know that it is brain-based. So there's a lot of myths out there about mental illness and behavior disorder. Autism is truly a brain-based disorder. The research shows that individuals with autism, their brain works differently. We do know that autism is also lifelong. So at some point, autism will continue to affect them throughout their life. Doesn't mean that individuals with autism can't learn and have a very happy and successful life. It just means that those deficits will continue with them throughout their lives. The core deficits, when you're looking at individuals with autism, includes the social skills. So that social reciprocity, like how they interact with people. You might see some deficits in their communication, and then also just overall adaptive functioning. So how they handle changes behaviorally. You might see some repetitive type behaviors, some self-stim behaviors. Autism is usually evident within the first 3 years of life. So if you are going to see somebody who has high training in autism, so I recommend that if you're a parent who's concerned about your child having autism, make sure you go to somebody who has training and knowledge in how to diagnose children with autism. So if you go to somebody who's very trained, I've seen individuals be diagnosed as early as 12, 15 months on up. Symptoms can range from mild to severe. And so I think this is what makes research very hard with autism, and it makes just understanding autism very different, because you can have a child with mild or, symptoms that are hard to see, somebody who's in the general ed classroom, who's highly cognitive, highly academic, highly intelligent, to somebody who maybe uses pictures to communicate or uses sign language to communicate. So everything in between. So there's definitely a range there. People often ask, what are the causes of autism? And right now we don't know. It's uncertain. There's possibility of multiple causes. We do know from the research that there is some type of genetic influence. There's a theory called the two-hit theory, where individuals are predisposed to having autism, and then there's something in the environment that might trigger the autism. That's called the two-hit theory. So as of right now, we don't know for certain the cause, but we do know that there's some type of genetic link there. Prevalence, 1 in 68 children. So this continues to rise every time the CDC comes out with the new statistics. It's a 5-to-1 boys to girls. It's distributed throughout the world in all races, nationalities, and social classes. It's more common than pediatric cancer, diabetes, and AIDS combined. And this is from the CDC, the Center for Disease and Control and Prevention, in 2014. Strengths. So anytime I work with parents or teachers, with individuals with autism, I always say, make sure you use their strengths. Target what they're good at. So some of the strengths that I often see in individuals with autism is they have a great memory. So they learn something one way and they can remember that. Most of the individuals I work with are visual learners. So anytime they can see something in writing, they can see something in pictures, it sticks with them a lot longer than just words. Black and white thinking. So always, those gray areas can be kind of tricky for them. And so they can be very black and white, very literal individuals. They're also very straightforward, honest, and objective. So I always say, if you want to know how you look in a pair of jeans, ask an individual with autism and they'll tell you how you look in those jeans. Another big strength I see is that they can focus on topics of interest. And so, using those topics and incorporating those topics in your lesson plans, in activities that you're scheduling them in for the summer, classes that you're getting them in high school and middle school, because they can really focus on things they really enjoy. There's a lot of theories out there about some of the greatest minds in our history possibly having autism, because they were able to focus on those areas of interest and not get distracted by everything else that was going on around them. So I'm just going to go through a few strategies, tips, that I think are really helpful working with individuals with autism. So the first one is every individual with autism is unique. One of my favorite quotes of all time is, if you've seen one child with autism, you've seen one child with autism. So remember that each child that you work with, they're a child, and they have differences just like all of us do. The second one is building on their strengths. And I can't tell you this enough, is find something they're good at and work with that. Or find something that they enjoy. You know, if they enjoy Swiffer wet jets, focus on Swiffer wet jets. Use things that they enjoy and incorporate those throughout their day. That will help keep them motivated. Number 3, help them with communication. So often I see a big deficit is individuals with autism not able to communicate what they need. So when they aren't able to communicate, they often have more challenging behaviors. So anytime you see a behavior, I'm going to talk about this in a minute, but you're going to think about the why. So help them communicate their needs. If they're trying to tell you they need a break, teach them how to ask for a break. Okay, so really help with their communication. Into the behavior, number 4, understanding their behavior before reacting. So thinking about when you see a behavior, the first thing you need to think of is why they're doing this behavior. What are they getting out of the behavior instead of just reacting? So if you think they're doing it to avoid a work task or avoid an academic task, modify the task. Think about, what can I do to change so the child doesn't have to do this behavior anymore? Number 5 is providing structure and predictability. And this is a specific, especially to the classroom. So we know all kids in general, we all do better when we have a structured routine and there's some predictability. This is even more so important for individuals with autism, because a lot of the individuals with autism have trouble watching around them and doing what other people are doing and predicting what other people are doing. So the more routine and structure that we can provide with them, the less anxiety that they're going to have, and just the more engaging they're going to be in their classroom activities. Number 6 is simplify your instructions. Okay, so I was with a teacher today, and we had a talk about kind of limiting how many times she gave the child an instruction. I said, it's like they probably think we're Charlie Brown teachers, like rah, 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 all the time. And we do so many words that it doesn't mean anything to them. So simplify it. Tell them exactly what you want them to do. So first we're going to do this, and then we're going to do that. Or give them some choices. Do you want to do this, or do you want to do that? I often tell people, avoid statements that start with can or will. It ends up being a yes-no versus an instruction. Okay, so simplify your instructions. Tell them one time. Don't keep telling them over and over again, because it just makes their behavior escalate. Number 7 is focus on social skills and relationships. The core deficit to autism is social skills. Okay, so we need to remember this and focus on building relationships and skills. Okay, working on breaking the social skills down for individuals and teaching them how to understand and how to really socialize with and interact with other people. It's the key to our world, right? Is being able to get along with other people, being able to be in the same room with other people. And so, if we don't focus on those skills and those relationships, individuals with autism can get isolated in their homes and their communities, and we don't want that. We want to build communities around individuals with autism. So we have to really focus on the social piece. Number 8 is simplify and modify. Okay, so if you're working with somebody an individual on an activity that has a whole lot of steps to it, simplify it. That can be overwhelming. So instead of just giving them all these steps at once, maybe break it down into 1 or 2 steps, and then the next couple steps. Simplifying it and modifying it. An example of this today, when I was working with a school team on teaching a child how to sort some blocks. So they would give him 20 blocks, and the student's behavior would start to escalate. So I said, well, if he can sort 5, why does he need to sort 20? So we had to modify that, and we simplified it what we needed. Instead of having him do all 20, we just did 5. Okay, and so his behavior automatically went down because he could see he didn't get so overwhelmed. Number 9 is inclusion, inclusion, inclusion. I'm talking school, I'm talking community. We need to not isolate children and families, children with autism and their families. Okay, we have to include them. And this is not just the role of families who have children with autism. This is a community activity. We have to embrace families and we have to support them and we have to include them. So kids with autism, they need to be included in their classrooms as much as possible. They need to be included in community events, not just for the children with autism. For them, yes, but also for everybody else. We can all learn from children with autism. I've learned so much with the families and the children who I work with. So, taking those opportunities and embracing them to help them teach us as well. And number 10 is support, don't judge. Okay, so I talk with teachers a lot about this. I say you can only control what's in your walls. Don't judge these families. Families are doing the best they can, just like we all are. Everybody's doing the best they can to get along every day and to survive. And so don't judge. Let's support them instead. Let's see what we can do to help instead of judging. So those are the things today, so just some summary about autism. There's definitely an increase in the prevalence of autism. So, back in the day it was, I knew of this one person with autism and everybody thought of Rain Man. Now it's like, oh, I have a friend. I've got a family member who's affected by autism. So now it's much more prevalent where it's not just something that somebody over here deals with. We're all gonna learn, and we're all gonna need to support each other, and especially support families who have children with autism, and support teachers and schools. Each individual is unique, different, not less. So really embracing those strengths and those things that they're good at, and incorporating those in their schools and in their community. And then it takes a village. I know this term gets used all the time, but it really does. So thinking about if you're a teacher, if you're a parent, how can you start building, the individuals with autism, how can we start building their community? There's been a lot of safety awareness and safety. There's been a lot of things happen in Oklahoma too. Say we had a boy die not too long ago. And part of it is we need to be more aware of what to look like and how to better support families of children with autism. So thank you and have a great April.